Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. 15-year-old boy mistaken for an intruder killed by his father. Education Minister says the migration of the island's teachers have slowed. And later in sports, Hall Brimson tastes defeat in first Reggae Boys assignment. I'm Shane Masters and here are the details. We begin with a horrific story in St. Catherine where a father reportedly shot and killed his son as the boy was mistaken for an intruder. The victim has been identified as 15-year-old Raheem Shaw, a student of Woolmer's boys' school in the corporate area. Now, Kalisha Williams has that story.
Crime scene investigators arrived at the Cave Hill estate in Hellshire, St. Catherine early Wednesday morning, hours after neighbors heard explosions coming from a property in the housing scheme around 3 o'clock.
I'm here gunshot. And me say, what that? When me get up, go urinate, me hear crying. And me run out. Me and go sit one neighbor come cross. And me the mother ball, I say, when I do outside, when I do outside, when me I go do, when me I go do. And me say, how? And she say, her son, her husband shot him.
The 15-year-old boy, Raheem Shaw, was immediately taken to the Spanish Town Hospital. However, he was later pronounced dead. But how did the teen end up being shot by his own father? Well, according to the police report, the man and his family were at home sleeping when his wife reported hearing the front gate and grill to the premises being opened. It said she alerted her husband, a licensed firearm holder.
He retrieved his licensed firearm and went out in the living room where, according to him, he also heard as if someone was opening the door. So he then discharged 3 rounds through the front door. It was thereafter checks were made and it was revealed that it was his 15-year-old son.
There are also questions too about why the teen was out so late at night.
Raheem, from all account, was one of those outstanding students. There was no disciplinary issue with him. It is reported that he had a good relationship with his father. They shared a very good relationship. He's not known to be, a wayward child, and so they obviously weren't expecting him to be out at that time.
Head of the St. Catherine South Police, Senior Superintendent Christopher Phillips, says the disturbing incident has deeply distressed residents in the community.
It's a very, very unfortunate incident. I spoke with the family this morning and I can say that they're really devastated. I had the opportunity to visit the location too, and this incident has really impacted the community to the point where some persons decided not to even go out for work this morning.
Now, further investigations are underway to determine why Raheem had left the house. His father's firearm was also seized by the police. Kalisha Williams, TVJ News.
In the meantime, our reporter Sandra Williams visited Woolmer's boys' school this morning, where the entire school population was visibly shaken by the tragic incident.
This is the second death of a student at the school in 4 months. This after David Minot drowned at Somerset Falls in Portland in May. Now, Raheem's death comes as a double blow for the institution. Principal Dwight Pennycook says Raheem's death comes as a great loss to the school. Students who are from Raheem's year group gathered into the auditorium from as early as 8 o'clock this morning for grief counseling. Now, the school has been receiving support from various stakeholders, including the Ministry of Education, Kingston College, Woolmer's High School for Girls, and Woolmer's Boys' School Old Boys Association, among others. Mr. Pennycook says the teachers and staff here at the school are trying to give as much support as possible to the students. Raheem's year group supervisor describes him as very active. She says he was part of the team that was undertaking the school's beautification project. She also said Raheem was the first student to make a contribution. Raheem was shot by his father early Wednesday morning after being mistaken for an intruder. Reporting from the Wilmer's Boys School, I'm Sandy Williams for TVJ News.
One man was shot dead and a woman injured at a bar along Norman Manley Boulevard in Negril, Westmoreland last night. The deceased has been identified as 29-year-old Edward Mosley of Red Ground, Negril. Reports are that Mr. Mosley and the woman were patrons at a bar on the property of Happy Quarter Guest House when a man dressed in black clothing went to the bar, ordered a drink, then walked away. The man returned with a firearm and shot Mr. Mosley in the head. The woman was shot in the foot. The gunman escaped. The injured persons were taken to hospital where Mr. Mosley was pronounced dead and the woman admitted. In other stories, the Education Ministry says the teacher migration crisis at the start of a new academic year has slowed. Education Minister Favour Williams made the revelation at Wednesday's post-cabinet press briefing.
We believe things have quieted down. We have not seen the same level of anxiety that we saw before school began. Obviously, teacher migration is a global phenomenon.
In the meantime, she says the extent of a teacher migration crisis will be known in the coming months.
When we do the census taking in October in our schools, in the meantime, as a data point, we're seeing fewer advertisements, and we're not hearing that there are large number of positions to be filled.
Ambassador Douglas Saunders will remain as Cabinet Secretary until another appointment is made. Ambassador Saunders was slated to retire from the post on October 1. However, at Wednesday's post-cabinet press briefing, Information Minister Robert Morgan said he has no detail on whether a Cabinet Secretary has been selected as yet. He says that process is governed by the Public Services Commission.
I would have to wait on them to make a decision as to who the next Cabinet Secretary is and when that announcement will be made. When they make the announcement, when they make the decision, it goes to the Governor General. He approves it or signs off on it. Then it comes to us and we announce. The current Cabinet Secretary is at work. He's obviously was planning his post-Cabinet Secretary life, but I suspect he will be with us for a little bit longer.
The Police Federation and the Firearm Licensing Authority, FLA, are to hold discussions regarding concerns that police officers seeking to acquire guns for personal protection are being denied. More in this report.
The issue was recently raised by opposition Senator Peter Bunting. He says the FLA has been turning down hundreds of applications from police personnel for personal firearm licenses, and the reasons given were not understandable. Police Federation Chairman Corporal Rowan James shares the sentiment, further arguing that all police officers should be granted firearm licenses.
We are prepared to meet with the chairman and the board of FLA. We have been issued an invitation. I intend to accept and to take up the offer because some of these challenges must be resolved in the interest of national security. We cannot continue to have an under-resourced force and a distracted workforce and members feeling as if they are not being given the support in order to stand as a buffer between the law-abiding citizens of this country and criminal elements.
James says it is nonsensical that the applications of police officers are being denied based on their addresses. He also took issue with the revocation of the firearm licenses of police officers who are under investigation for work-related incidents. The Police Federation chairman believes all applications should be approved.
It is rather strange that a police officer is never off duty and we are expected to respond to every citizen's need, and we are likely to be criminally charged if we don't respond. So therefore, it means that the state should enable us to protect ourselves in the defense of the citizens of this country.
He was speaking on the morning agenda on Power 106 this morning. Cody Barrett, TVJ News.
There's a call this afternoon for better management of the processes that govern the use of the nation's highways. It comes after a motorist was barred from exiting at the Unity Valley exit on the North-South Highway. But what was the cause of this? Details in this report. Who is really responsible? The question being asked by a member of the motoring public who was recently caught in a web with the operators of a North-South Highway. According to Jermaine Morgan, earlier this month, he was traveling to St. Anne from Kingston. Now, upon entering the Caymanas toll booth, he stopped to add funds to his electronic pass card. However, when he got to the toll exit at Unity Valley, his challenges began.
When I approach the e-pass, it rejects me from going through. So I stop and I reverse. Then the lady in the toll booth asked me to come in the line to see what was wrong.
Mr. Morgan says the instructions were followed. However, the issue got deeper as he was told that the information which would show that he entered at the Caymanas leg of the highway was wiped from the system.
She told me that she cannot let me through the toll because there's no record of me entering the toll. And I said, "Miss, but I have a receipt to show that I paid." She said, "Yes, hold on, let me speak to my supervisor." She did call her supervisor. After calling her supervisor, now the supervisor insists to her that I must pay to exit the toll.
He's upset and calling for something to be done about the process.
No, this is bad for Jamaica. This is bad for Jamaica. It's not good at all. So I'm saying this, Jamaica, we need to understand what is happening, and the relevant authority need to look into this. Some adjustment must be done to this.
When contacted, Chief Executive Officer of the Toll Authority of Jamaica, Leron Leng, said they will look into the matter. O'Shane Masters. And we now go to Cody and Barrett with the Business Minute.
In the world of business, the Bank of Jamaica, BOJ, will make its next monetary policy announcement on Thursday, and the private sector is worrying that there will be another rate increase. In September last year, the BOJ raised its policy rate by 550 basis points. They fear it will push loan rates up further for consumers and businesses as the central bank seeks to control inflation, which is still tracking way above the 4 to 6% target range. And in business internationally, Hurricane Ian has sidelined 11% of the Gulf of Mexico's oil production. The Bureau of Safety and Environmental Enforcement says natural gas output has also been impacted by nearly 9%. BP and Chevron announced Monday they have evacuated a dozen platforms in the Gulf due to the hurricane. Regulators said after Ian passes, facilities will be inspected. That's it for the Business Minute. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
And here's a preview of what's coming up in this evening's Health Report.
In this evening's Health Report, we'll look at infertility.
So remember, we are all born as women with an exact amount of eggs, and they decline as we get older. So when we enter puberty, we only have a certain amount, and each month we use up a certain amount. So by the age of 35, we think there's a significant decline. And so if a couple has been trying for 6 months, then we start to get a little more concerned.
That's the Health Report in Primetime News at 7. And now for today's healthy living tip. Maintain a healthy weight, limit alcohol intake, reduce caffeine, and speak to your healthcare provider.
And it's now time for regional and international stories.
In the region, the Minority Rights Dominica, Miradom, and the HIV Legal Network say they remain hopeful that the High Court will follow Antigua and Barbuda and St. Kitts Nevis in repealing laws that criminalize LGBT people in the Caribbean. The High Court will on Wednesday begin hearing a constitutional challenge from a gay man who is seeking to have 2 sections of the Sexual Offences Act, SOA, that criminalize consensual same-sex activities ruled unconstitutional. The Miradom and the HIV Legal Network say the continued criminalization of consensual sex by LGBT people through sections 14 and 16 of the SOA and the broader abuses against LGBT Dominicans to which such criminalization contributes has damaged too many lives. On the international scene, a tornado damaged several aircraft and a few hangars at a Broward County airport in South Florida, USA. The mayor says the twister passed over North Perry Airport Tuesday evening. The facility is temporarily closed while officials assess the damage. At least 2 tornadoes touched down in Broward County between 7:15 and 8 p.m. Tornadoes, when associated with a hurricane, can occur hundreds of miles from the center of the storm. They are typically short-lived and difficult to predict. A watch is now in effect across South Florida until early Wednesday morning. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Shane Masters. Join us at 7 for Prime Time News. On behalf of the news, sports, and production teams, have a good afternoon.